Are you a claimant who has a representative, either an attorney representative or a non-attorney representative, that finds that the SSA keeps circumventing your representative that you retained and who will be ultimately paid generally if you prevail? But their SSA or the DDS is contacting you directly and not following the rules of going through your legal representing party. Um, it happens a lot, and it happened this week. So because I was about to dig in my heels and smack some heads around, figuratively, of course, um, because one of my clients' rights is being violated repeatedly. And I've already sent in one letter, so I sent in another letter. And this time I provided them the very rules that they publish that controls their behavior here, that they don't seem to be teaching their employees. And yes, I'm aware that they are short-staffed with undertrained employees trying to further train newer employees. So I know there's a big problem here. But sometimes you just have to get a little, in my opinion, tougher in terms of complaining. And if I need to escalate it further, I will do that. I mean, this one went so far as scheduling a phone meeting with my client who has cognitive issues due to a TBI and mental health issues on top of that. And that's aside from the physical issues. Now, scheduling a phone conversation with a person who has representation, when the family member said, well, can we conference in the lawyer for this future? And they're like, no, it's just going to be between us. No, 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 no. That doesn't fly with me. I don't know about you guys. And I would say this too for representatives out there. I know some representatives do not care about this issue. I do know that some they have as little to do with their caseload as possible. That's probably hopefully the minority, but I don't know how this is something that can be acceptable, because if you're not aware, many times underhanded questions are asked of a person on the phone, and it's not for the benefit of making sure they get benefits. Okay. I've seen it happen it happens in perks, which we are generally not a part of, which is a little disturbing. But I've come to accept that somewhat. I'm not sure if I should. But it also comes from the medical offices, the DDS level, where an adjudicator will reach out to a claimant to try to say, get them to talk about their prior work, and asking questions in a way that will make it appear that the prior work is certainly still doable. And there's a reason for that. They can deny him at step 4 and not have to deal with step 5. I get it. Motivation, incentive, unethical, but it's there. So my hard and fast rule is no, no, no. I don't care what level you're at. You're not speaking to my client, period. I won't even do a third way, a 3-way. I will take your call and I will get the information you need, and I will give it to you verbally if you would like, or if you want something more definitively from the client, if you think I might be fabricating, no problem. I'll get a $7.95. I mean, easy peasy. This is like kindergarten stuff. So the fact of them violating the rule, which I'm about to get into, and I'm going to share this to you because you can use this. I attached it to my letter today. It's just my second letter in 2 days because that's how fast these things were happening to this particular individual. And I also, of course, tried to call. The first conversation, the first phone call was disconnected while I was still on hold, maybe less than 10 minutes in. The second phone call I made shortly thereafter, I jumped off after 17 minutes because I had to get back to other work and I had another call to take. Normally I put it on speaker and I go about my day with what's going on in front of me, but there's got to be a limit. And they don't have people to answer the phones. I get it, understaffed. I blame our federal government for that, but that's not the point. My job still exists for my clients, and my clients are not going to be subjected to any SSA staffer or DDS which sometimes many are super nice, don't get me wrong, and have the best of intentions and are not doing anything untoward, but you don't know which ones they are. And those bad eggs are sprinkled throughout, like they are in every other aspect of life, right? So no, they are going through me, and the rules support that. And I'm going to go into this rule right now. If you search for GN 03910.050, contacting a represented claimant. This is the SSA's rules upon itself. And it's funny because when I was drafting this letter, I knew it existed. I just didn't know where it was, the rule. Anyway, so let's have at it. When we may contact a represented claimant directly, okay? So they give you the list of when they can, which means any other time they can't. They intro by saying, generally, when a claimant has an appointed representative, we will communicate directly with the representative and not the claimant. Bingo. However, we may contact the claimant directly if. So let's go through the ifs. Generally speaking, none of these ifs ever apply. And I'm going to go through them. The first one is the representative asks us to deal directly with the claimant. That would never apply to my clients. I would never put them through that. And I don't want it to be done anyway because it's going to screw up the case by and large sometimes. And then I've got to do about 10 more hours of work to try to remediate that. I do know, like I said, that some representatives just, client, you deal with the SSA. I'm just your representative sitting over here in the corner. I don't get that. The second one, the claimant who is alleging blindness or visual impairment elects to receive notices by first-class mail with a follow-up telephone call from us to read the notices to him or her. Clearly, that would never happen to one of my clients. If they were blind or very visually impaired, I'll read it to them. You know? 3, the contact relates to a possible violation of the rules of conduct and standards of responsibility for representatives. Okay, I get that. That's never been an issue in 20 years, but I understand that would be a good reason if it was, right? 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There is an indication that a representative's appointment may have ended, but the information in our records is unclear or sufficient. That's a good reason. Let's say it looks like I withdrew representation, but they weren't sure because of something, or there was an indication that I had withdrawn, but there is no form even, or the client has exercised his or her right to terminate representation. Absolutely. They might have to contact, particularly if they can't contact the rep that is, potentially not representing anymore. Although I think maybe they should start there. For sure, that would be an instance where you would go right to the client, and then the client will say, no, here's my attorney, Stephanie. I mean, what are we on, 5? There is ambiguity about the scope of representation. That is never an issue because it's right there in the SSA form itself. That's what we use. Our fee agreement is theirs. We used to use our own proprietary one back when that was all the thing to do. But since they created one a few years ago, we've switched over to make things easier for them, which by definition makes things easier for me. And last but not least, there are multiple representatives appointed, and it is not clear who is currently appointed or who is the principal representative. That would never apply to me because I do not co-represent. It's all me or nothing. Now, it's true that sometimes I'll come in after someone else has already withdrawn. That could be. And I would probably forgive them for one phone call about that, if they're just trying to find out. But that certainly isn't the case here. So those are the very limited circumstances, which are, I would say, reasonably unusual, and certainly would never apply in a case I would have when they can reach out directly to a represented claimant. So I see this violation happening rampantly. I mean, it's insane. And I've seen trickery be used. I have seen where, and this would be in a perk where we're generally not included, and that is a little troublesome. I've had to clean up messes after that too. For instance, the person is paying rent to their grandma, living at the grandma's house, and they're deemed as being gifted or having been gifted the rent for all that time. And when you talk to the client, they're like, no, I specifically told them. My mom got on the phone and said she's liable for rent to her grandma. And they decided to write it down as not liable for rent. This is a gift. And they cut 1/3 of the benefits off. Things of that nature, which is why you always want to have the documentation about the rental arrangement. Even if you can't pay the rent and you're kind of borrowing the rent from them at the moment, getting that documentation in order, because then it's going to be sent to the field office over and over and over again, and potentially escalated further if need be. But when you have the documentation, you got a little bit more to go on than that undocumented conversation where they're the only ones that document what occurred in the conversation. And I can't tell you how many times people say, I did not say that. Even my mother got on the phone and was explaining how, so you can't control what other people are going to write down. So you got to document it yourself and send it in with some form of tracking, whether that's sending it certified mail or UPS, or even a fax, if you're good at keeping your fax confirmations. Anywho, that GN03910.050 is the only times they can contact you if you have a representative. So as I suggest to my clients, and I get a little naggy about it, nag. We have voicemail for a reason. Don't pick up the phone because I didn't know who it was, so I picked it up. No. Why would you ever pick up a ringing phone? When you don't know who it is. I mean, that's how people get scammed, number one. And number two, let it go to voicemail so then you can get me the contact information and I will call them back. And if you pick up the phone, you often will not get their name or their number because it doesn't come up in conversation. Now you can't even go back and communicate something new to them or different, or give it to your lawyer. So if you let it go to voicemail, then you can more timely respond when you're more prepared. That's another thing. They get people, that are not prepared. They're perhaps just waking up in the morning. They're not thinking straight. A lot of times, a lot of people have, mental health issues or cognitive issues. And it's just not the time where you're going to be answering as coherently as you might otherwise. So for the unrepresented, I suggest you use your voicemail. For those with representation, talk to your representation, your representative, your attorney, and give them the information. Presumably, if they're doing their job, they're going to be the one wanting to handle that communication, not let you do it directly. I mean, that's what they're there for. Okay. Some of them are going to disagree with me and they're going to say, oh, wait, don't interfere. We're going smooth here. I get it. And if it works, it works. But I think I hear from a lot of claimants that aren't my own that are not happy with that scenario. So little advisement there to representatives who just throw their clients to the dogs at the SSA. And I don't mean the SSA is a bunch of dogs, by the way. They're very nice people in there. There's some really great ones. But I'm talking about these other rogue ones, okay? Ciao for now, guys. What a week. It's only Tuesday. Bye.